We often hear teachers saying about how you have to let go and how you have to let go of your false identity, of the false self. And this is a very clear example of what they mean. And I feel like there's not many clear examples. So if you're into self-help and if you dive into the underground, like the advanced self-help concepts, you'll start to notice a pattern. And the pattern is common amongst these teachers, which is they talk a lot about the limiting identity and limiting beliefs. And these, in my opinion, are at the core of everything that's causing you to self-sabotage, everything that's causing you like your emotional pain. The thing is, you see patterns in your life. So this is like the most advanced form of self-help, okay? So you see these patterns in your life where you'll build up to a certain ceiling of success and then you'll self-sabotage and then you'll go down and then you'll build up again and you go down. And so this pattern is exactly what's keeping you stuck. This pattern is going to repeat your whole life until you die, unless you actually work on it. The way you work on it is you actually understand which identity you're attaching yourself to. Which identity do you have of yourself? You're going to act in a way that is stay congruent to the idea that you have of yourself. And so naturally, and this is the key to understand this, and again, this is also preached in this like underground advanced self-help circles. The key for this is to understand that actually naturally you're meant to ascend. You're meant to just keep on improving, and you have no natural, quote unquote, natural limitations, right? You don't have any self-sabotage when you're born. You don't have limiting beliefs. These are imposed upon you by society and by your upbringing. I really want to give you an insight into what it's like to understand what your identity is. I want to give you my example, and maybe you can relate. So in my life, let's say, I was brought up by both my parents. They were together until I was like 12 or 13. And I mean, I'm not going to go into detail into their personalities, but let's say that it was a very narcissist, codependent relationship, and my dad was more on the codependent side. And so ever since I was a kid, I was conditioned to believe that I was this victim, that I was not really powerful, that I was, let's say, at the effect of things. And I was always conditioned to believe that. And so once I started getting into self-improvement, I started doing a lot of things. I started doing the whole talking to strangers, putting myself out there. I started doing weightlifting. I started meditating. I started eating healthy. I started sleeping well. And I felt some benefits of these things, but it always felt like I would do these habits and then I would sabotage. And I would do these habits and I would sabotage. And I always felt like I never really reaped the rewards of these habits. And I didn't really know why. And recently, it just hit me that I am very much living the identity of my dad. I'm living as if I'm my dad. Like I'm living thinking on how I'm a victim or how I'm at the effect. And that's actually not who I am. That's actually not, because, for example, my dad was never really into self-improvement that much. I mean, I love him and I try to get him into these things, but he's just not interested. And I really am, because I really see that this is the path out of the dark tunnel that I always talk about. And so these habits, these actions that I take towards improving myself don't actually come from that identity. And so it is not congruent for me to keep pursuing those habits, to keep pursuing that greatness, because I see myself as really small. And so I had this epiphany where I realized I am not being myself. I'm being my dad. I'm following my dad's identity. And once that happened, I started to become so proud of every small action that I do towards my self-improvement, because now I'm actually improving on myself. I'm not improving on this false self of my dad's identity. You just have to be yourself. And I know this is kind of like that meme, of the normal distribution where, okay, you'll see it. I'll put it up on the screen, kind of like this. You know this meme format, right? So you have to be yourself, then you try to be a lot of things, try to be the cool guy, be really try hard, and then at the end you're like, okay, you have to be yourself. And the most advanced forms of self-help emphasize this a lot. Like you have to be yourself, but you have to understand who you actually are, because who you think we are is actually this like fake conditioned self. And you have to let go of the things that are keeping you and are leading you into the path of false self, let's say. And so what I want to ask you is, you should really audit which identity you're living through. This is like so key, because if you don't do this, if you're not proud of the improvement that you make upon yourself, if you're not proud of every little thing that you do that's conducive to a better future, then you're probably not living your identity. If you feel like you're so much like a parent of yours, you're probably also not living your own identity. Of course, you have some characteristics of them, but to be like so similar like I was, it's probably because you took some of their characteristics as your identity. And so be really mindful. If you like this kind of videos, subscribe because I'll be making more in the future. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.